Hi everyone, my name is Kyung-jin and I'm going to present to you article written by James Andrew Nikos Nikiforakis Johnstone in 2017, and the article is titled "Are the rich more selfish than the poor, or do they just have more money?" Hi. Your idea is more social class, the rich or the poor? It seems as if society already made up its mind. The rich are more selfish. One often finds claims in the popular press, movies, pop music, and even the Bible, suggesting many believe that being rich, almost by definition, means that one has little regard for others. The recent financial crisis and the evidence that in each aftermath, the inequality between the rich and the poor has grown further seems to have rekindled this belief. This popular belief is actually to some extent understandable because there is a lot of evidence that the rich are just behaving very selfishly, so there is evidence they are more likely to evade taxes. They are more likely to violate traffic law, and they're less likely to give to charity. But these all are instances of differences in behavior. A more interesting question, however, is what are the differences in social preference? Are the norms and the values of rich household and poor household fundamentally different? We wanted to address the very important question, that is, are the rich more selfish than others? To address this question, we delivered semi-transparent envelopes to some of the richest and the poorest households in the city. So these techniques allow us to measure without bias your sociality, your willingness to help someone else. So how does that work? Every envelope is clearly visible from the bank side of the envelope, and handwritten for maximum authenticity, has inside either a banknote or a bank transfer card, which is shortened BTC. Returning the envelope requires you invest some time, some effort. You could be doing other things. If you're gonna do this, you're doing this for no person benefit. It shows immediately that you're taking an action to help someone, else at a personal expense. That's what we call a trusty behavior. To have better understanding of what based returns, we vary the contents of the envelopes across treatments. Table 1 provides an overview of our experimental treatments. As can be seen in two treatments, in addition to greeting card, we included a bank transfer card for the amount of €5 or €20. A bank transfer card is an order to transfer money from one bank account to another. It has no value for a third party and it is impossible to go to a bank office to cash it. Therefore, there is no monetary gain from keeping an envelope with a bank transfer card. In other two treatments, instead of bank transfer cards, a banknote of either €5 or €20 was included. Selecting poor and rich households. Each household in our sample was randomly assigned to one of the four experimental treatments. Selecting poor and rich household each house to control and enhance the experiment accuracy. First, we wished to limit the number of households per apartment block to avoid contagion. Second, since rich households were anticipated to be predominantly of Dutch origin, we intended to select only Dutch households for the poor too. Selecting the mailman. Most cost-effective way to return misdelivered envelope is to drop it into one of the public mailboxes on the street. This procedure, however, adds noise to our data as an unreturned envelope could be either due to being kept by household or due to being kept by the mailman. But we had a test and interpreted return rates in the experiment as free from noise from the mail company. Randomization. Able to report by treatment the mean of the variables that we collected and will use later on to establish the robustness of our finding. We cannot reject the hypothesis of an equal distribution of disposable income among the rich and among the poor. This showed that the randomization into treatment appears to have been successful. Then proceed to establish the robustness of our finding by collecting for a range of socio-economic variables at the house level. Result 1. The rich return substantially more envelopes than poor. Across treatment, they are more than twice as likely to return a misdelivered envelope, 81% versus 38%. Support. In all four treatments, the rich are considerably more likely to return misdelivered envelopes. Two-tailed Fisher exact tests reveal that the difference is statistically insignificant in all four cases. Result 2. The poor are 41.85% less likely to return envelopes containing money than envelopes containing bank transfer cards. The rich are 10.39% less likely to return envelopes containing money than envelopes containing bank transfer cards. The difference is statistically significant for the poor, but not the rich. Support. For the poor, the average return rate across non-cash and cash treatment is 47.48% and 27.78% respectively. The reduction of 41.85% is statistically significant. Comparing rates in €20 and 20 BTC for the poor, the difference is also statistically significant. Measure 3. Return rates are sensitive neither to the amount of money in the envelopes nor to the amount on bank transfer card. Support. This finding suggests that the decision to return the envelopes is not driven by a trusty concern for the welfare of those The difference in return rate between €5 and €20 is insignificant both for the rich and the poor. We present a simple model to better understand the underlying motive of rich and the poor for returning envelopes in the experiment. One possibility is that these altruistic concerns or luxuries of sort and so may carry less weight for the poor than for the rich. On the other hand, if the poor are more empathic and compassionate than the rich because of their life experience, this concern may have a greater weight for the poor. Second, poverty has been associated with stress and negative affect states which can change people's behavior, rebuild preference. Furthermore, it has been shown that financial pressure can affect one's priority and ability to exert cognitive control. In the context of our study, this could imply that the willingness of the poor to return envelopes change over the course of the months. Doing a favor for a stranger may be a task whose priority falls as the distance from payday increases, especially if that favor yields small benefit for the stranger. Simple model: to make simple, we define BTC, condition, and euro respectively. The nearly identical result come when the two conditions are separated by the €5 and €20 conditions, treated separately for both BTC and euros. Poor people feel highest pressure in week 3. Estimating the model, an individual in the BTC condition will return the envelope in week W when the benefit obtained from doing so exceeds the negative effect of the pressure she experienced, that is, 1. For the euro conditions, we can assume the net benefit of returning the envelopes are as in 1. However, keeping the cash envelope has the benefit of the additional money but a potential moral cost, such as feeling of guilt. Let n denote the net benefit from keeping the envelope containing cash, even if the rich and the poor feel equally guilty for keeping the envelopes. If the marginal utility of money is higher for the poor, then we could expect this value to be higher for the poor than for the rich. Overall, envelopes will be returned in the euro condition if alpha minus n minus p euro w is bigger than 0. Coefficient for the probability is negative than euro, but when including variation it shows closer result. In financial pressure, riches alpha is equal to 0.776 plus alpha is 0.850, which is statistically insignificant. In other words, the structural model suggests that rich and poor do not differ in their altruistic concerns. Instead, the poor appears to experience substantial financial pressure, causing them to return fewer BTC envelopes, especially just before their payday. The net utility of keeping the cashless envelopes is close to 0 for rich, but poor appears to derive positive net utility. The poor appears to be altruistic as the rich. The more compelling interpretation is that they have greater need for money. The modeling exercise presented in this section has shown that despite using a design aimed to minimize several of the common inference problems, when dealing with the rich, endogeneity due to omitted variables remains an issue. Once we account for difference in the marginal utility of income and financial pressure, the rich and poor appears to be indistinguishable with regard to their social tendency. Results are not we have expected but contradict popular view. Across all our experimental conditions, we found that the rich were substantially more likely to return a misdelivered envelope than the poor were. So when we looked at the data more closely, we saw an interesting pattern. Immediately after their payday, the poor were as likely to return envelopes with bank checks as the rich, but then, as time went by, week, they were less and less likely to return such envelopes until in the week before their next payday they returned no envelopes. This is clear evidence that the financial pressure the poor are under is crowding out their willingness or ability. If you are to behave prosocially, assuming this research is robust, we started out to finding whether the rich are more selfish than the poor. In the process, what we found out is that poverty has a negative impact on prosocial behavior. Therefore, by reducing poverty, we are making society in a sense less selfish.